Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there lived a young prince named Alexander. He was the epitome of privilege and power, born into a life of luxury and influence. However, his true character was yet to be tested, for it is not birthright alone that determines the measure of a man. As Alexander grew older, he was taught the ways of governance and leadership by his wise father, King Richard. The king often spoke of the responsibility that came with power, emphasizing that true greatness lay not in the authority itself, but in how it was wielded. These teachings resonated with young Alexander, and he vowed to become a just and compassionate ruler. As fate would have it, a neighboring kingdom faced a grave crisis. A deadly drought had ravaged their lands, leaving the people destitute and on the brink of starvation. News of their plight reached Alexander's ears, and his heart was stirred with empathy and a sense of duty. Against the advice of his advisors, who cautioned against intervening in the affairs of another kingdom, Alexander decided to take action. He gathered supplies, food and water, and set forth to aid the suffering people. Despite the risks and challenges, he was determined to show compassion and make a difference. Upon his arrival, Alexander witnessed the harrowing conditions firsthand. The people, weak and desperate, had lost hope. With a heavy heart, Alexander distributed the provisions he had brought, providing sustenance and relief to the hungry masses. He worked tirelessly, leading by example, and soon his efforts inspired others to join him in assisting the affected kingdom. News of Alexander's noble deeds spread like wildfire. The neighboring rulers, initially skeptical of his intentions, were astonished by his selflessness and determination. They realized that Alexander was not merely a prince wielding power, but a man who used his authority to alleviate suffering and bring about positive change. In time, the drought subsided, and the once-stricken kingdom began to flourish anew. Grateful hearts turned to Alexander, showering him with praise and respect. However, the measure of a man is not determined by the adoration of others, but by his intrinsic virtues. As the years passed, Alexander faced new challenges. His reign as king was marked by numerous decisions and trials. In each instance, he remembered the teachings of his father and the profound lesson he had learned about the measure of a man. He approached his responsibilities with a sense of integrity, always considering the impact of his choices on his people. It was during a time of political unrest that Alexander faced his greatest test. A rival kingdom, envious of his success, sought to wage war and seize his lands. Battle seemed inevitable, and the advisors urged Alexander to respond with aggression and might. But Alexander, wise beyond his years, remembered the lesson that true greatness lay in how power was used. Instead of meeting force with force, he chose a different path. He engaged in diplomatic negotiations, seeking a peaceful resolution that would spare his people from the horrors of war. Through tireless diplomacy and compromise, Alexander managed to avert the conflict. He brokered a treaty that not only secured peace but also fostered collaboration and understanding between the two kingdoms. Once again, he demonstrated that true strength lay in the ability to exercise power judiciously, always mindful of the well-being of his subjects. As time went on, Alexander's reign became legendary. His name was spoken in hushed whispers, not only for his remarkable achievements, but for the profound impact he had on the lives of his people. The measure of a man was redefined through his noble deeds and compassionate leadership. And so, the tale of Alexander, the prince who became a true king, continues to echo through the annals of history. It reminds us that the true measure of a man lies not in his title or status, but in how he uses his power, influences lives, and makes the world a better place. May we all strive to be like Alexander, understanding that our actions define our character and leave a lasting legacy for generations to come.